Hi, folks. Never know what she'll do next, right? Well, I have a request in to Logitech to help me out with this camera. Why I'm not being able to use my video effects. I miss the unicorn and the little car and the stick man and all that. They just don't work now. They flicker on and off all the time. And I just don't feel like getting fixed up all the time, you know? You know how it is. When you're on Skype, you don't always want to talk to somebody with a video camera on. Sometimes talking is enough. So I've kind of upped the exposure and the gain here. And, I know it's kind of a wreck, but trust me, it looks better than I look naturally right now. Okay, I have from the title of it, it looks like a really enjoyable video to read to you and a really neat link. This video is from Monday, 10/17, and it's the 19th today, so it's only a couple days old. The Mayan day was two offering or water, and it is meet the beings from Venus. Are you ready? And what do you really want? Okay, and right at the very beginning, I'll put it in the description as well as the transcript. I have a link to a video that I guess I'll talk about here. You know how it is. If I've slept on it, I don't recall. Okay, so what to say? Don't look at me. I don't know any more than you do most of the time. I just write what comes through when I make the connection with whatever here within. So far, it seems to work pretty darn well. So let's continue. I find inside a certain sadness or a pause. I'm not sure what that's all about. Oh, come on. Cooperate, please. I just want to use the little... Oh, you have to push the right button. That's true. That's true. Okay, so something that gets my attention inside anyway. The picture isn't clear right away. Oh, that's funny. Did I hex myself there? And it may not become so, but that's fine. It doesn't need to. One can quite easily feel and sense without understanding. You surrender enough and you just get the knack. It comes from putting mine back there in the back seat. So, what is this? I begin to sense it. This morning, and it's afternoon for you guys, but for me, it's morning due to when I woke up. I watched a video from an exopolitics conference. It was a speech by a contactee I hadn't heard of before, and a good reason may be he speaks only Spanish. He's from Bolivia. His name is Luis. His direct contact and teaching/learning experiences are with beings from Venus and a couple of other places. I think maybe Ganymede, one of the moons in our solar system. His speech, and right now I'm halfway through the 11 parts of it, so far speaks only of the Venusians. I guess that's what it is, Venusians. It's too much like Venetians, from Venice. These beings tell him that the Apaches of North America are in their direct line of descent. Somehow that doesn't surprise me too much. They're a wonderful people with a colorful native heritage just here on Earth. Who knew about Venus, huh? But don't you find it seems like the various indigenous peoples are just comfy and cozy with our star brothers or whatever they call them? I seem to find that. Okay, who knew about Venus? Maybe the Apaches did, but I guess they weren't talking, and for very good reason. It doesn't do you much good to open your mouth about such things in this age we've been living in. People can be harsh, even ruthless, in their fear of such information being true. They'd rather not know, don't want to open their minds. It disturbs their comfort zone. Oh well, we've all had our comfort zones disturbed pretty much in the recent past, and it's still going on. I say, thank Source. Thank God for that. It appears that this was the only method to bring most of us awake. We have clung tenaciously to those comfort zones, even in the midst of our pain. Jobs we didn't like, commutes we hated, all the rest of it, but as long as it worked, we stuck with it. Yet, there's no waking up unless we let those comfort zones go, at least a bit, out of our stranglehold. Now, many of us are doing this, of course. We are the ones Source is using to shake everyone up. And that's fine, just so each one of us is following heart. That works for me. I don't care what the information is that someone brings, if it is true. I adore truth. And that's just my way, and I know I'm not alone in that. I sense many more of us. So, our love of truth gives us a certain, well, it looks like bravery to others. It's really not. That others might not understand. When you adopt one thing, other things in conflict with that must either go or fight against what you've adopted. For us, truth always wins out, and we're willing to endure quite a great bit of discomfort in pursuit of her, Lady Truth. So, I'm fine with beings being from Venus or elsewhere. We don't know. We've been lied to. We know that. Only most of us don't yet know how very much. So at this point, pretty much if the government says it, whatever it is, I disagree. Well, no, I haven't polarized to quite that extent. I just use it to make the point. We live in a culture of nothing but lies. We're swimming in them. Truth is alien here, and it's resented and eliminated or covered over at all costs by those in charge. You know this. So, though I haven't even finished watching that video, nor slept on the material, which I highly recommend before coming to any kind of conclusion, I am leaning favorably toward both belief in and acceptance of what this man says. I go by the feel of things. He and his material feel just fine. You might want to check him out for yourself, so I've provided the link. He was introduced by Dr. Michael Salla, whom I also respect. Now, what are your feelings about supposedly alien life? Personally, I don't consider them at all alien. They're just other folks. They happen to live somewhere else. What's the big deal? Why do we make such a huge deal of it? They look rather different, but so do some of our own races here. They differ greatly in their looks, and that's no big deal. Okay, a couple centuries ago, we made a big deal out of that. I mean, it was shameful. The Irish, white Christian Catholics, were treated as less than human. And as we know, natives around the world have been abused, castigated, and of course, what's been done to the black race. It's pathetic. But anyway, hopefully we've gotten over that pretty much. Now I say it's time to get over this prejudice. Boy, it's just different, that's all. Okay, pardon me, that's not all written down here. Okay, I say, remember, the body is only something we use or something we wear, Actually, we contain it. It doesn't contain us. But my point is that you are not your body any more than the beings from elsewhere are the bodies that they're using at the time. A body is just a tool to manifest in a certain dimension, realm, or locale. It is not who or what we really are. I will be so happy when we can get beyond all thinking that we are these bodies. Identifying with that. People don't yet realize how very much of our pain and heartache just go away once they let go of that view, that perspective. It's a box we've been sort of locked into, only all along we hold the key. It's a vision or perspective shift that's required. That's how I see it. Only that, no big deal. And once we make the shift, oh my goodness, how much different and easier life is. You see, they, or the powers that were, get us into fear in order to control us. Well, as long as you think you're the body, then you can be controlled. You can be made to fear what might happen to it, since bodies can be harmed and, oh my goodness, even die. Imagine that. That's their big secret, one of them. Convince us we're the body and then threaten it. Pretty easy to see, but not until you see it. Until then, one is just blind to this particular aspect of control. One doesn't think of it. How can you? Anyway, being outside of body identity is delightful. I highly recommend it. Do give it a go. So, what of these beings from Venus? What do they want? Well, it appears they just want to continue to help us grow and evolve. And they, and many other races, have been doing this for endless ages. Recently, we've been cut off from them, even from the awareness that they exist by those in control around here, those who just don't want us to know, even though they've linked up with some of the more malevolent ones and don't want us finding out. Well, that rabbit is quite out of that hat. There are so many decent, reliable contacts with ETs or extraterrestrials on the planet now that the bunny will no longer fit in the hat. They can't tell us there's no such thing. Besides, he's multiplied, as all good bunnies will do. Thus, like it or not, the word is out. We're not alone around here. Well, personally, I find this quite comforting. Why is that? Well, it just is what is, you see. It is something that is, and all this denying of the truth of it is just, well, I don't go for right and wrong, but it's just not useful. Let's put it that way. And it's gone on way too long. I've had it with all the secrecy. I think this new age dawning will not tolerate secrecy, nor one group controlling another. We've had it with that. And yet, it is still up to us to make it so, to confirm this potential by use of free will. The prime directive really does stand. Just because some have blatantly violated it and gotten away with it for quite a while doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We, the human beings, must cooperate to make this a reality. We must choose. So, what do you want? What would please you the most? You and I, are the ones we've been waiting for. Time to get on the stick, huh? Furthermore, We are the very creators of the future up ahead. All this time, in ways we didn't understand, we were creating what happens. How is that? Well, let's not forget that mind is at least fourfold that we know of: superconscious, conscious, subconscious, and unconscious minds make up the whole. And as science tells us, we use but the smallest part of the whole as our conscious awareness. And this we tend to call myself. Can you see, even in this simple illustration, how very limiting that is? To claim self as but the 10% or less of the brain we now use, well, how crazy is that? How did we get convinced to do this? Who knows? It doesn't really matter, okay? All that matters is to wake up from it, to walk away from the lies. Let's cast off the chains and shackles that have bound us to being less than what we are. Let's reclaim our full selfhood and our sovereignty while we're at it. Let's come home, capital H, in consciousness into our own native divinity. That's what I find as self within. How about you? Have you looked? You can see right away that there are many currently held beliefs that have to go first before such ideas can really take hold and bring you their blessing. We've all got some surrendering to do, some sorting through the muck of our programming, our beliefs. We have many choices to make, this or that, yes or no, accept which and kick which out. That is up to each one as a sovereign being, as a ruler of self. And I'll leave you with that. Nothing else comes. Be blessed, my friends. And that too is a choice.